10 years as the youngest vice president for Barclay Financial. After earning several master's degrees and PhD in theology, he was on his heart to pastor a church, and he actually did that for 7 years. Through some close friends, he was introduced to life leadership and quickly learned that there were principles of success that had eluded him and prevented him from achieving the success that he was striving for. So with new information and a clear understanding of the life he was wanted, he now mentors and leads communities here in San Antonio and across the country teaching on leadership principles. So without further ado, let's bring up Gordon Getch.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's good to be here bright and early. How did you find the traffic this morning? It wasn't too bad, right? Yeah, it could be worse. So I'm going to start off with a question. What, if you were to give me a one-word definition of leadership, what would that be?
Guidance.
Guidance. That's good. Discipline. Discipline. Yeah.
I heard it once defined as someone who motivates people to do things they don't want to do.
That's a good one. Someone who motivates people to do things that they don't want to do. A little more than one word, but it's a great definition. Hunger. Hunger is an important characteristic of leadership. In fact, without hunger, you can't lead. So it's a good one. Anyone else? Contributions? Fear. Fear. Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of, you're going to lead either from the position of a dream or a dread. Fear or faith. Yeah, dream or dread. The word I'm looking for is promoted by Ken Blanchard. He's an awesome author on leadership. I grabbed a few books, just a few resources on my bookshelf. The one I really wanted to bring out is probably next to my table upstairs. But at the heart of a leader, Ken Blanchard defines it in one word: influencer. Influencer, because a leader is somebody who influences. That's really important to understand that, because if you're going to influence somebody, who likes to be influenced by somebody you don't like? Not really, right? You don't really enjoy being influenced by people that we don't like. In fact, we kind of steer away from them if we can help it. So it's really important in leading, and I think business generally today rises and falls on leadership. I don't think it's got anything that's got something to do with management, but an entrepreneur is not going to necessarily be the manager. If you, another great book, Michael Gerber, E-Myth, any of you read the E-Myth by Michael Gerber? I highly recommend you get your hands on that book. It'll just, it'll rock your world in terms of leadership and, yeah, I do have one. I thought I had one, yeah. There we go. The E-Myth, Michael Gerber. And he talks about the entrepreneur, the manager, and the technician, and those components that you need in a good business. And the entrepreneur is really the leader. He's not the manager, he's not the technician, he's not the person who the gopher or the accountant. He's the one who influences the staff, he influences the clientele, he influences everything about his business. And so if that's important, then it's important to be likable. And that's really what I talk about this morning in terms of leadership, because that's, I think, the foundation of influencing, is that you can get along with people. Because you don't want to push people, right? So how many of you have heard how long it takes for somebody to form an opinion of you in your first meeting?
30 seconds.
7 minutes, 60 seconds. They're different. Usually, what people say is the first 7 seconds, and that's, I've always believed that. That's pretty accurate. It takes 7 seconds for somebody to form an opinion of you. Now, here's a shocker for you. According to the Princeton psychologists Janine Willis and Alexander Todorov, it takes only 1/10 of a second for someone to form an opinion of you. Isn't that crazy? 1/10 of a second for people to form an impression when they first meet a stranger. The study also concludes that longer looks at a person do not improve the perception. Okay, so don't glare at somebody if you don't like them. I hope that'll improve as you go along, those first 7 seconds. And that was, the reference on that is Wargo 2006. You can look that one up, and that's a good little bit of trivia, isn't it? No. That certainly helps us reframe where we are. Would you keep a clock on me, please, Tony? Oh, there it is. Okay. So, so if that's true, then we definitely want to do something about the way we relate to people if we're going to be a leader. Would you say? I remember a really cute little story of the guy Tommy who's always getting in trouble. Tony will know my friend Tommy. I'm always telling stories about Tommy. I guess he was the guy that I was growing up with, the boy, or I was the Tommy. And but one day Tommy runs into the house. He is so excited. He runs in and he says, "Mommy, mommy, mommy!" And he just can barely wait to burst out the information to her. And he says, "Jimmy and Janie and Stephen and me helped an old lady across the road today." Oh man, he's so excited, and Mom is really proud of Tommy because he's a little helper. And she says, "Oh, Tommy, that is great. That's awesome. I like to hear those things. But tell me, how come it took all four of you?" He says, "Mommy, because she didn't want to go."
No.
Okay, so we don't want to take somebody where they don't want to go. Someone once said, "Man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still." So it's very important to be relatable, and it's very important to be able to get into a position where you can effectively influence somebody, because you understand influence can be good or bad, right? And so we're talking about the good influence this morning. So what does it take to become that person? I love the leadership principles found in this little book here. This is a New York Times, USA Today, Washington Post best-selling book on leadership for 5 years in a row, and it was published by Chris Brady and Orrin Woodward. It's called Launching a Leadership Revolution. I highly recommend you get your hands on this if you can, and the person to get it through would be Tony. He knows these resources and where to get them. We really appreciate Tony. He's becoming an awesome leader. He is already, in his own right, in his own business, a great leader, and just aspires to do the best that he can, to become that person that's likable and an influencer. And this is part of what helps him to be that way, this amazing book. But anyway, in here, Orrin Woodward talks about several principles. There's so much. I mean, in 10 minutes, I don't know. I was trying to think, what could I pack into 10 minutes that you could take with you that would make a difference in your life? So there's in that book there's the 5 levels of influence, which are awesome. How you start, where you start as a learner, and as a student, and then a performer, and then a leader who leads, and then a leader who leads leaders who lead the very highest level of leadership. And the question there is, who do you know that's close to you that you have influenced to become an influencer? That you've influenced to become a leader, because that's how you test the results of true leadership, is who is following you. And you understand, you can't be a leader unless you first become a follower. Okay, so follow that. And then the other principle that he talks about there is the trilateral leadership ledger. Sounds very technical, very complicated, but it's a very simple principle. And it begins with, just going back to reading books, by the way, Charlie Tremendous Jones. Any of you familiar with that name? If you're not, he was a great evangelist that traveled across the country and a great influencer. And he said, the person you are 5 years from now will depend on the books you read and the people you meet. How many of you believe that's true? So reading books is really important, because nothing that I'm telling you today is stuff I made up. In fact, I was a terrible leader. Growing up, I was just, my accent didn't help me one squat. I mean, it did, you know. So how many of you need an interpreter this morning? And you all understand what I'm saying, okay? All right. I never had an accent until I got to Texas, you know that? So you got to, so reading is really important, and the person that you associate with is also very important, because that's what's going to form the person that you are. How many of you growing up, your mom said, don't hang around with so-and-so? Because they're a bad what? Bad, there's the word again, right? They're a bad leader. They're leading down the wrong pathway. And so it's important. The person you are is because of the books you read and the people that you meet and that you associate with. And that's tough, because it means you have to make some decisions about where you're going to be. Because leadership also doesn't happen automatically. right? It doesn't, you don't, we all want results, don't we? We're looking for results in life. And just not any results, because you're here this morning because you're aspiring to better results. You're here because you want to get some, either influence somebody or get some influence that's going to drive you forward in whatever business or enterprise that you're in. So we're looking for better results. Well, how do we get better results?
Trial and error.
Sorry?
Trial and error.
Trial and error, yeah, that's a good one. Okay, we'd all like a little more trial and a little less error, right? Okay, so the trial and error. The best way to get trial and how can you get trial and error without taking first action, right? So you got to take action. So in order to get the right results, you've got to take the right action. All right, and so in order to take the right action, what do we need to do? To do the right things consistently over time, what do we need to develop?
System?
Habits. Systems, yes. Habits, importantly, because it rises and falls on what your habits are. So we create the right habits over time so that we can perform the correct action that gives us the right results. How do we get habits? Habits are developed through our thought pattern, our thinking. What happens up here in the neocortex, the logic part of our brain, is we begin to think and process things and create habits over time. That changes our action. And so habits are important for action to produce results. And the bottom line, it all comes down to so we change our thinking, which produces better habits. And how do we get better thinking? Information. Thank you, Mike. Information. So the correct information, not just any information. So it's important not just that we read books, but what books we read, right? And that we become, Oliver DeMille, who wrote a great book, I've got it over here, it's called Freedom Shift. He said, talks about the direction that our country is going in. And he said there are three things that we have to do as a nation, as a society, to pull things out, to develop leaders, to create leaders in society. And that's because leaders are not just in business, right? Would you agree? If you're a mom, you're a leader. If you're a dad, you're a leader. If you're a pastor, you're a leader. If you're a teacher, you're a leader. If you have a business, if you're an entrepreneur, you're a leader. So leaders are all over. The truth is that every single one of us in this room is going to be called to lead at some point in our life. The question is, will you be ready to lead? And Oliver says the way that you'll get ready to lead is, first of all, you need to become voracious readers and thinkers. So not just read, but think about what you're reading and reading. Voracious readers, tribal in your thinking. There's a tribal dynamic going on right here. Community, tribal. Connect with communities that are connected, that are similar to what you do, and where you can get that influence. So voracious readers, tribal thinkers, and entrepreneurial. And that's something. He says in order for this country to turn around, we need more entrepreneurs. We need people who get out of corporate America, who take control of their own future and change things from the base up. So those are very, very important things. So and so voracious reading is really important. So to get the right information takes input. You have to put that input in over there. And so so I wanted to talk about that first, because we're looking for the right results, right? And all of this it's by intention. It's not by chance, it's by choice. Your destiny, wherever you go to, you see yourself in the future, wherever you want to arrive at is your destiny. Whatever you believe is your destiny is going to be determined by your thinking, your thought patterns, or so on. And it's all by choice, not by chance. So summing this all up, the trilateral leadership ledger, these are the things that you can work on, it's based upon a percentage of effectiveness of a successful leader, measuring three areas, which is relationship, tasks, and character. And so relationships is really, really, really important in leadership. We already said that, right? It was How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling by Frank Bettger, an unbelievable book for anybody. It's got selling in there, but it's least about selling and more about building relationships. In the very first chapter, he said enthusiasm and excitement is key. So for some of us and some of our personalities, melancholies especially, are going to battle with that one. We're going to force ourselves to become enthusiastic and excited because it doesn't come naturally, right? But do it because it's really, really important for the success of your business. If somebody's going to form an opinion about you in 1/10 of a second, it better be a good opinion. If you want them to buy something from you, if you want them to relate to you, if you want to influence them, they better like you. So work on that relationship because it's extremely important. The second thing is character. What's your character like? Measure your character. Ask yourself some hard questions, because character is integrity multiplied by courage. Courage is not just integrity. It's not just honesty. It's multiplied by courage. It takes courage to have character. So you think about, test yourself in that area. What is your character like? You know, what are some of the simple things in life that you maybe paint gray, which are actually supposed to be black and white? Ask yourself those hard questions. And then tasks. How do you perform? What is your performance level like? What is your work ethic like? And all three of those have to have a score, because any number times zero is what? It's zero. It's zero. So that's how you will test your trilateral. Your success ratio would be what any one of those three multiplied by each other will give you the number, the percentage of success that you will have. And so if you're high on character, let's say your character is flawless. You're a person of integrity. You can be trusted. Your word is your bond. Your yes is your yes, and your no is your no, and you get a 10 on that. And then so that's your character and your task. Boy, you up early in the morning, you're the first one there and you're the last one to leave, and you're going to get it done, and it's not and nothing's going to fail, not on your watch. You're going to get it done. And so you have a 5 on there. So 5 times 10 is 50. Man, you're doing great up the scale, but your relationship sucks. Okay, and you just know. I mean, you walk out of that house and it's like when you walk out of the room lightens up. Okay, so that you've got a 0 there. So you've got 50. You think you're doing great. You multiply it by your relationship, and you suck. I mean, just plain and simple. You blow. So it's really important to work on all three of those things, and that's about it. It's about as much as I can give. I'm way. I didn't realize that. You got that thing on high speed.
It's going pretty fast.
So, if you could take those things with you, remember that we're looking for results. In order to get results, there's certain action that we have to take. It doesn't come by chance. It comes by choice. Our destiny is definitely something that we choose. It's not something that comes just by osmosis or by association. You have to choose your destiny. And then knowing that it depends on the person that you are, because wherever you go, there you are. Right? Yeah. Okay, so thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I hope we can.